Hello, welcome to Unboxing O'Neill. I hope everybody is safe and healthy, and I hope your loved ones are too. Now let's get right to it. Let's see what's in my box. All right, so the first things I have in my box are a big old spoon and some chopsticks. Why do I have these things? Well, usually if I eat dinner, it's with one of these things. The idea here is that algorithms are ever present, and broadly speaking, we use them all the time to make all sorts of decisions like what to eat for dinner and how to eat my dinner. So, an algorithm in this context is just a formula that is used to make a decision, right? The formula is used to analyze data, and the data is being analyzed for whether or not it satisfies success conditions. Okay, so I'm deciding what do I want to eat my dinner with. So I define what counts as success conditions, right? So I might say I want something that's going to allow me to eat as quickly as possible and it's going to be easy to clean up. So maybe given the data, which is what kinds of tools are available in my kitchen, I might end up choosing the spoon based on an algorithm that defines success in terms of how much food I can shove in my mouth quickly. Or if I define success conditions differently, with the same data, I might get a very different output. Let's say instead of trying to just shovel food into my mouth as quickly as possible, maybe I want to take my time. I want to work on my hand-eye coordination, practice my fine motor skills. So maybe I want to use chopsticks instead, right? In either case, I'm dealing with the same data set, which is also something that I curate, right? So I could launder my data. I could ignore data. Right, so maybe I want to ignore all of my chopsticks that are too smooth. These have nice little grippies, right? Or maybe I want to ignore the fact that I also have forks, right? So I'm not taking forks into consideration when I'm analyzing what I'm going to use to eat my dinner, right? Now, this might seem like a very low stakes, meaningless kind of decision, but the idea is that algorithms, broadly speaking, are everywhere, right? We are constantly choosing what data to look at and then choosing or deciding what counts as success conditions in terms of analyzing that data. Okay. So I don't have anything else left in my box because the next thing I have is on my bookshelf. Okay, I've got a couple of foreign language dictionaries, Italian and German. These are the two foreign languages that I've spent the most time studying. So this relates to the idea that as coders, as people who are developing and auditing algorithms, O'Neill says that coders should not think of themselves as arbiters of truth. Right? Technically, a coder is the one who is deciding what counts as a success condition, right? But she thinks that that doesn't necessarily mean that coders should have that power in an ethical sense, right? Rather than being the arbiters of truth and the arbiters of value, she thinks that coders should be translators. Now, what is it that coders translate? Coders translate ethical discussions. So instead of using a code to reinforce the status quo or to automate the status quo, as algorithms often do, she thinks that we should be auditing our code to challenge the status quo as a way that reflects the ethical discussions that we are already having as a culture and as a society. So the idea is that when we're using these algorithms, right, it might seem like low stakes when I'm talking about what I'm going to have for dinner or whether I'm going to use chopsticks or a spoon. But when we're talking about algorithms that are used to determine credit rates, home loans, health care, the hiring process, right? These are very high stakes. Very literally, lives are at stake when we're talking about medical care and policing. So the idea is that these algorithms should not simply reflect biases that people already have. Instead, the way that we create algorithms and the way that we audit those algorithms should be a reflection of the larger ethical discussions that we are having about these issues. So that rather than just taking data that reflects the status quo and using that data to create a self-fulfilling prophecy, the idea is that we ought to be asking these ethical questions and the way that we write algorithms, right? What kind of data is being considered or ignored, and how we are analyzing data to determine success conditions, right? These decisions all need to be a result of an ethical communication and an ethical conversation, right? So the idea is that coders are not the ones who decide what counts as a success condition. I mean, technically they are when they're writing the algorithm, but she thinks that coders need to be paying attention to the ethics. Coders need to be paying attention to the philosophical considerations and the larger ethical discussions that are happening in our society, so that we don't just replicate the status quo, even when the status quo is immoral, biased, prejudiced, or racist. Okay. So I hope that was helpful. I hope everybody is safe and healthy, and I hope your loved ones are too. And I will see you soon. Bye, everyone.